I like reading, but I have no idea about books that are easy to understand. Can you please suggest some books? So first you have to decide what you like to read, because if you hate reading, it's going to be very difficult for you to continue, to persist. And that's really the first mountain you have to climb, to find the thing that doesn't make you hate it. That seems like a simple thing, but it's not that simple. What are you interested in? Are you interested in fiction? Are you interested in nonfiction? That's probably the first question to answer. If you're interested in fiction, what sort of fiction do you like? Right? Find a category that you like. Find what you like to read in your language and try to read that in English. Maybe you like historical fiction. Historical fiction is fiction which is not real, but based on something that's close to real in the past. So maybe something that happened 100 years ago to the President of the United States. But there's a character in that which is not real. It's a fictional character happening in a historical context. Maybe you like that. Maybe you like books about business. You like to learn about how to be a leader, leadership, right? Well, that's great too. That's great too. Now, if you like books about business or leadership or personal development, there's one I can suggest. It's actually in the other room. I don't want to go get it right now, but I could, and I can show you how simple it is. But basically, this book is called How to Win Friends and Influence People. Now, it's good because it's not that hard to read. It's good because it's nonfiction, which means it's generally simpler and less complex in its writing style, in its style, than maybe a fictional book. And it's actually very useful. It can teach you how to interact with people naturally and how to make other people feel comfortable around you. So the book is called How to Win Friends and Influence People. It's not that hard to read, and it's a very good book. It's a classic. It's an amazing book. So I can really strongly recommend that if you like nonfiction books about self-improvement, about business between people, or building relationships between people, or making other people trust you. So it's a good book. Now, for fiction, I can recommend this one if you like sort of serious classic fiction. This one is called The Old Man and the Sea by Ernest Hemingway. Now, it's not that hard to understand. "Come on," the old man said aloud. "Make another turn. Just smell them. Aren't they lovely? Eat them good now." And then there's the tuna. Okay, that's not that hard, right? You guys can probably understand most of that. It's not that difficult. Okay. So another one that I really like is called The $100 Startup. The $100 Startup. $100 Startup. This is a great book for also self-improvement. It's not that hard to read. It's pretty simple, and it's about anyone. It's about how to, if you're someone who wants to build your own business or make an income on the side or something like that, how to do that, basically. It's about how to start your own thing and how to do your own thing. And it's really useful, and it's not that hard to learn. And I've read this book probably 3 or 4 times. I really like it, and I would strongly recommend checking this one out. The $100 Startup. So for nonfiction, we've got How to Win Friends and Influence People, the $100 Startup, which is good, and one more nonfiction book I can recommend. These are just books I have, which I like. If you're interested in more the science area, maybe you don't like books about personal development, books about business. Okay, whatever. How about this? How about this? This is a book by Neil deGrasse Tyson called Astrophysics for People in a Hurry. Now, you might see, astrophysics? What? No, not me. I can't do it. But if you're interested in that kind of topic, some people like to learn about the universe and stars and planets. It's actually not that hard to read. It's written as a story. It's fairly simple, right? The metal Mercury, liquid and runny at room temperature, and the planet Mercury, the fastest of all the planets in the solar system, are both named for the speedy Roman messenger god of the same name. Is that difficult to understand? No, I don't think so. Now, that's the kind of interesting thing. People think that books that are fiction are probably easier than books that are nonfiction. That's generally not true. Actually, nonfiction books written for a broad audience, like the books I've mentioned so far, are better for English language learners like you guys because they're written for a broad audience and they're written to be understood and they're just conveying information to you. They're not trying to create a style and a mood like maybe a story, right? The Old Man and the Sea is creating a mood and the characters might have different dialects and you have to describe them in more complex ways. Okay, so I would really recommend nonfiction if you like that. If you don't like it, okay, pick up The Old Man and the Sea. And of course, Harry Potter is a classic. I always recommend Harry Potter because it's written at a level that most of you guys can understand. It's good, it's entertaining, and I would say there's enough of it so that you can sort of get into it, right? Because that's another important factor. If you're not into it, if you don't like it, if you get bored, then what's the point of reading, right? But if you really get into it, if you like Harry Potter and you want to read it every day and you read it for an hour a day, how fast will you be able to pick up new sentence structures, new grammar patterns? Pretty quickly. So I can definitely recommend Harry Potter as well. Now let's contrast this with hardcore philosophy, just to give you a sense of what it sounds like when we have very complex language. Let's see. I've got a book here by a philosopher named Heidegger. Let's see if we can find a complex sentence. Well, actually, this is just a sentence about Heidegger. It's not even Heidegger. Heidegger is more difficult. Heidegger's unusual deployment of the word as a noun confronts the German reader with the etymological structure of the word da is German for there, sein is German for being, whereas the philosophy traditionally speaks in terms of immaterial substances of soul and subjectivity. Okay, so that's obviously much more difficult, right? That's going to be harder for you guys. So I wouldn't recommend philosophy and that kind of stuff. It gets very complicated and it's definitely hard to read. That was my major in university. So trust me, it's hard to read. I still think it's hard to read and I studied it in university. So first ask yourself, what do I like? Fiction, nonfiction. Then ask yourself, which kind of fiction do I like? Which kind of nonfiction do I like? And pick something that's exciting to you. And if you want to ask me, hey, is this a good book? Ask me. Join the Facebook group and ask me there, or in a comment on YouTube, that's fine too. So ask me, I would be more than happy to check it out and see if it's good for English language learners. By the way, if you haven't already, make sure you hit the like button. I would appreciate that. Don't forget to subscribe and also check out my courses in the links in the description. And if you have any questions about this, you want to check a book with me, please do in the comments. Don't hesitate. I would be more than happy to give you additional advice on this.